Hello everyone. Today we will examine together what happened in the new episode of the Arafta series, and what happened in the last episode. The events in the final stages of the Arafta series reached the most complex and emotionally profound stage of the storyline, when Ates's revenge plan, which he had been meticulously crafting for years, collided with his uncontrollable love for Mkin. Complete chaos ensued. The armed attack on Mkin in the last episodes became a turning point for Ates, because his heart, which until that day had only been nourished by hatred, was shaken by the fear of losing Mkin. Every piece of evidence Ates obtained while pursuing the attacker brought him closer to the dark memories of his past and his current enemies. In this process, the internal conflict Ates experienced caused him to oscillate between the roles of an executioner seeking revenge and a hero protecting the woman he loves, deepening the character's limbo in the story. ASL. The person behind the scenes of the incident was depicted in a state of complete panic in the last episodes. Esley's plan to completely bind Ates to herself by eliminating Mkin backfired, binding the two even closer. When her mother, Mkin, learned of the horrific crime, the atmosphere in the house turned into a funeral home. Mkin, fearing her daughter's imprisonment, was forced to become an accomplice, caught between guilt and maternal love. Esley, meanwhile, resorted to increasingly dangerous methods to escape the tightening circle, devising new schemes to distract Ates. Mkin's struggle for life in the hospital and her subsequent recovery were filled with emotionally charged scenes. Upon waking and seeing Ates by her bedside, Mkin, still reeling from the trauma, began to question everything, trying to understand why her family had lied to her so much and why Ates looked so sorrowful. She uncovered clues from the dusty pages of the past. Mkin began to realize that she was not only trying to heal a man who loved her, but also a wounded soul who had suffered a great injustice from her family in the past. This realization led her to become more distant towards her family, and more protective of Ates. The hidden alliances between the supporting characters and families also came to light in the final episodes. In particular, the accidental discovery of secret documents related to Ates's family's past loss in a drawer, or the confessions of a former employee, ignited a major explosion. These documents implicated not only Mkin's family, but also many powerful figures in the community. This strengthened Ates's revenge leverage, while simultaneously highlighting the fact that innocent people would also suffer from this fire. As each character continued to tell big lies to protect their own small worlds, the weight of the truth began to weigh heavily on everyone's shoulders. From a psychological perspective, the final episodes of the series can be read as a cathartic process where not only the plot but also the characters' inner worlds are systematically unraveled. Long-suppressed secrets, postponed confrontations, and ignored truths become an unbearable burden for the characters. As this pressure intensifies, the characters' decisions become more reckless, their reactions harsher, and their mistakes more visible. Each misstep is, in fact, a harbinger of one more step closer to the inevitable end. One of the most striking reflections of this unraveling is seen in the famous scene where Ates catches and confronts his attacker. The scene is not only a physical confrontation, it is also an expression of the storm raging in Ates's mind. The incomplete, contradictory confessions that pour from the attacker's mouth do not directly point to a culprit. However, this very ambiguity deepens Ates's suspicions. The absence of clear answers causes a single question to echo in his mind. Is the real danger truly outside, or much closer? From this point on, the concept of the enemy changes radically for Ates. Now, the threat he faces is no longer a stranger lurking in a dark alley. It could be someone who has infiltrated his daily life, someone he sits at the same table with, shakes hands with, or even trusts. This realization leads Ates to re-examine all his relationships with a new and ruthless eye. He begins to calculate who he's speaking to, who knows what, and what silence is concealing. Open moves are replaced by cautious retreats, and loud anger by carefully woven silence. Thus, Ates ceases to be a reactive character. He transforms into a more strategic hunter, who waits, observes, and strikes when the time is right. This is precisely where the tension of the series intensifies. The viewer can never be entirely sure what Yates knows, while anxiously awaiting to see who and when his next move will be directed. The uncertainty elevates the final episodes to their strongest moments, not only in terms of action, but also in terms of psychological depth. As the final sequences approach, the long and sorrowful dialogues between Mkin and Yates form the emotional core of the series. These scenes are not merely a conversation between two characters. They are also a heavy reckoning of months of accumulated silence, postponed confessions, and unfinished sentences. Yates's struggle between his desire to be honest with Mkin and his reflex to protect her, even to avoid hurting her, reveals the character's internal conflict in all its rawness. The camera's prolonged focus on their faces makes it feel as if the unsaid words carry more weight than the spoken ones. Mkin's cry, "Tell me what you're hiding," is not merely a personal request. It echoes the central question, at the heart of the narrative woven from the beginning of the series. This sentence questions the cost of trust, and whether love can survive without confronting the truth. Mkin's gaze holds both a fragile curiosity and a premonition of impending destruction. Even as she says she's ready to hear the truth, she's aware of the cracks this information will create in her life. Both characters silently accept the same truth. Once the truth is spoken, there's no turning back. The weight of words becomes the greatest obstacle to potential happiness. Therefore, as the dialogues lengthen, the tension doesn't lessen. On the contrary, each interval of silence grows as a harbinger of the approaching break or transformation. Yates's gaze, heavier, as he remains silent, and Mkin's patient waiting for an answer, constantly keep the emotional tension of the scene high. In the final frame, the famous black file Yates holds becomes a tangible symbol not only of the hidden information, but also of the postponed confrontations. The innocent curiosity in Mkin's eyes represents an unblemished hope. The juxtaposition of these two images strongly suggests that the story will either spiral into an irreparable break or evolve into a more mature and costly love that will emerge from all the destruction. The series leaves the viewer in the midst of this uncertainty in its final moments, making its emotional impact lasting. To summarize, the final episodes heightened the sharp conflict between the coldness of revenge and the warmth of love. Each character, searching for a way out of their own prison, became even more entangled with each other. Yates now has to make a decision. Either he will take justice into his own hands and lose Mkin forever, or he will put the past behind him and build a new life with the woman he loves. However, the pace of the series and the depths of the characters suggest that this choice will be far from easy, and that many more shocking events are on the horizon.